When you say identify your precise niche, give us a little more. Tell us what you're talking about here.
Okay, each of us have a true gift. It's really, really important to get a handle on what that is. We get our true gift from what we love doing most. But where a coach comes in is that for many of us, we actually need to have a conversation to identify what that gift is. We may not recognize it for ourselves. When you have identified your true gift, the next thing you need to identify is where that gift has most impact on a client's key challenge. So you're identifying the key challenge on which you can have life-changing impact. Anything less than that, and you're not giving the very best possible service. So when you put the two together, they actually identify with laser sharp precision what your niche is. One side of that niche is the challenge. The other side of that niche is the unique gift you bring to bear to address that challenge and facilitate the necessary change.
I love it. So we have a new over/under counter. So it's the word niche, and so since us Americans don't say it right, the count is now at 3. So the over/under will be set at 6. You know, if I say niche more than 6 times, you win the over. Less than 6 times, you get the under. So you all can bet at home, whatever you want. Doesn't matter to me. This is not a gambling website. There ends my public service announcement. Anyway, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Sorry, got to give the public service announcement. But it's so epic what you're saying there about niche, and the fact that most people will go out and tell you how to define a niche, and they will tell you to define your avatar first. And while that works well for some people, for folks like you and I, Dennis, it doesn't work well, because we know what our gifts are, we know where people's pain points are, and if we're trying to start with an avatar first, it feels counterintuitive, right? Meaning if we try and start with an avatar of an age and a demographic and everything else, if we start with that, it feels counterintuitive, because we'd rather focus on our gifts and where the pain points are out there in the world. I mean, is that making sense? Is that am I picking up right here?
I think it's the way in which you relate that's important. So what you're looking for is the most powerful way you can relate to a particular challenge.
Okay.
So on the challenge side of it, what makes it unique is actually the extent to which you have coped with that in your own life, you have direct experience of it, and you can empathize, connect instantly with the other human being. So it's a kind of weird setup from a marketing point of view, because it's a combination between mass marketing and mass one-to-one marketing. Mm-hmm. So the generic bit is the number one challenge. The one-to-one bit is how the person connects with you on a one-to-one basis, in terms of knowing that you've been there and that you can guide.
Yeah, and you can provide a steadying hand, and provide a steadying hand, and like you said, be a guide. So when it comes to so I think what I heard you saying, I just want to kind of recap for a second, because I'm still getting my brain wrapped around it, because I love the concept. So identify your gifts, and identify, is it fair to say you identify problems you see in the world, and then you marry those two up? Am I getting that right?
You're getting it. I mean, what there's two sides to the relationship. Okay. There's you and the client or prospective client. What you have to offer the prospective client is the biggest number one challenge, if you like, that on your end you've tackled through your hero's journey, and at their end is what they're likely to be suffering most. But because you've made the journey, you can, if you like, assist. So it's putting both sides of the coaching relationship together in that particular way.
So is it fair to say that if one goes out and they start putting their gifts down, they start listing their gifts, and their gifts are based on their biggest challenge, or where their gifts align with their biggest challenge, so they'll be able to resonate well. That they may look at some things they have on their list, and they might realize that they were one of only a couple of people that went through that, and that it's not a viable thing to start their coaching business on. I mean, is that a fair thing to say or not?
I think that when you take the mass marketing and the one-to-one element, is that it's operating at such a deep level that the person can instantly engage if you're the right person and if it's relevant. So it's really, really making a deep connection.
Yeah.
And that deep connection. So for instance, my gift is to facilitate tough and complex decisions and resolve dilemmas. So at one level, that's very, very precise. But another level, it's in terms of the challenges that people are facing. So if people are facing a tough decision or a complex decision, then they would be a good match. And the gifts that I bring to bear would be to connect them with their true gift, their true voice, and how that can move them forward in relation to that particular challenge. And that's the conversation that takes place through your marketing and how you actually present yourself to the world.
Okay, epic. As we kind of wrap up niching a little bit, which I think I might get through it with only saying niching. So you who bet the under might actually win this, unless of course I say niche. Oh, there, had to get one more later on. But back to the important thing, which is you and your concepts here. The one thing that still strikes me about niching is the fact of that if you find you have gifts and you find you can do things that are applicable to such a small amount of people. Like we used to joke around about left-handed dentists in Podunk, Idaho. If that is your gift, if your gift aligns with that, then you might not be able to make a business out of it. And I guess that's part of where I'm just trying to get. A final quick question. When people are niching, does that, when you identify your precise niche, does that come into play at all in the identification phase for you to understand how large of a market you may or may not be able to serve?
Yeah. What defines the largeness of the market is the core challenge. What defines the niche is the one-to-one element that a person will pick up on in terms of working with you. So in terms of ideal customers, you've moved beyond an ideal customer. You've moved to the point of a unique relationship with someone. So that's the way in which you structure your value proposition, and that's how you go out into the world. And you'll find that there are plenty of people who can identify with the core challenge. But in terms of finding you as someone who is the right person for them, that becomes self-selecting.
Yep, I get it now. So it's at a higher level. So by the time you get to niching, you've already identified the core problem, and during that phase, of course, you have to figure out if you have a problem that's big enough to sustain your particular lifestyle or your particular business wherever you want to take it. I mean, some people might just want to have a small business, so they might need a couple of clients. Others might want to have a large multinational company, and so anyway. I've got it. I will babble on forever. This is such an epically interesting topic, but we've got to get to putting the client first. That sounds very simple. Put the client first. Tell us a little bit more about this.
To watch the rest of this epic episode now, click on the link below the video. Do it now. You'll be glad you did. Are you still here? What are you waiting for? Watch the rest of this epic episode now by clicking on the link below the video.